Hello, it's John Heaton, and this afternoon I'm going to review the first album from the Travelling Wilburys, which came out in 1988, and it was pretty exciting when it was announced because it was a new group featuring Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne from ELO, Tom Petty, George Harrison and Roy Orbison. So combining those talents was quite mouth-watering, and the origins of this band came when George had to do a B-side for, I think it was This Is Love, the single from Cloud9, and he had this track written called Handle With Care, and he needed to record it, and so he phoned up a couple of mates who included Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne, and then they went round to Bob Dylan's garage to borrow his recording setup, and they recorded this song. And then thought, well, this is so good, it's too good to be a B-side, which is very true. Let's make a whole album. I'm not sure how Roy Orbison got involved. I think it was through Jeff Lynne, because Jeff Lynne, round about the same time, was recording Roy Orbison's comeback album, Mystery Girl. Tom Petty had been touring with Bob Dylan. Jeff Lynne had been working with George on Cloud9. So it was all interlinked, they all hung out in the same circles, but I'm just going to quickly show the record and put it in the shade. So this is the inner sleeve, with some blurb about the origins of this mythical group, Travelling Wilburys, and then nice label. So I guess one of the talking points is whether one would have preferred this or a couple of more solo albums from George, and I think I would have preferred more solo albums from George, but I think if we're honest, maybe he had run out of enough material. Yeah, I'm not sure if George felt confident that he had enough material to fill a whole album, because if you take Handle With Care and the other tracks recorded around this same time, like Cheer Down and Poor Little Girl and Cockamamie Business, and the other George material from this album, Heading for the Light, you don't really have a full album. So maybe he wanted a break and wanted to join a band and have a bit of fun, which is what this was. And they were talking about going on tour, but it never happened. This original copy of mine came with a free set of stickers, which of course I haven't used. And I'll actually just quickly show you my 12-inch singles. You have this one with an extended version of Handle With Care with this nice label. Single. So the Handle With Care single didn't do spectacularly well, but there is a great video if you haven't seen it. It's you can check it out on YouTube, and there's a video to a couple of the other songs as well. It's another version of Handle With Care in a 10-inch version, and then we have the second single, End of the Line. And unfortunately Roy Orbison died a couple of months after this album came out, December 1988. Another free set of stickers in this single. So when they went to record the follow-up, they had to do it without Roy. Let's put all of these in the shade. So let's go through the tracks. Handle With Care is, in my opinion, one of George's best latter-day tracks. I think he probably wrote the lion's share of this song, maybe helped by the others a little bit. All of the tracks are interestingly credited to all 5 Wilburys, so you can't really tell, other than who sings the lead vocal, who wrote most of the songs. But Handle With Care has just got a melody to die for, to use my favourite expression, and just great words, great slide guitar from George, which he underused as not on Cloud9 but in previous solo work he'd underused. And great philosophical words, you know, I've been uptight and made a mess, but I'll clean it up myself, I guess. Oh, the sweet smell of success, handle me with care. With cur, pronounced in the Liverpool fashion. And as I say, great video, check it out. And then, I mean, unfortunately, that is the best track on the album, so everything else kind of pales into insignificance in comparison, but that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It's just, it does set a very high standard at the beginning of the album. But it's a good thing that it leads off the album. It's not buried on side 2 or anything. Dirty World is a kind of joint composition effort. They record several songs along similar lines, and it's okay. It's nothing special. Rattled is a kind of rockabilly number. Again, group effort, but Jeff Lynne's taking the lead. And you know, he's written so many rockabilly songs over the years, like Rock and Roll is King, and which was a hit single, but this one is slightly forgettable, unfortunately. The album recovers with Last Night, which I think Tom Petty is taking the lead on in terms of songwriting, but the others pitch in, and this is a nice number with nice production. The whole thing is very well produced by Otis and Nelson Wilbury, which I think is the pseudonyms for George and Jeff Lynne. And then side 1 finishes with Not Alone Anymore, which is a solo effort from Roy Orbison for the most part, and could have easily been on Mystery Girl, the album which came out in January of '89. It's decent. It's not my favourite on the album. And then we turn over to side 2, and Bob Dylan is coming up with a nice track called Congratulations, with help from the rest of the band. And this was his first really decent song for several years, so it was very heartening to hear it. Heading for the Light from George. I was listening to this the other day, and it's just not a great track, and if this was the best he could come up with, then maybe that's why he didn't produce albums after Cloud9. I don't know, but this is pretty uninspired in my opinion. Others quite like it. Margarita, it's a kind of instrumental song, nothing special. Then Tweeter and the Monkey Man is another strong piece of work from Bob Dylan. And Bob is, you know, not the kind of person you'd expect to join a band like this, but I think it was a breath of fresh air for him to do so, and they all seem to have fun and lose their kind of individual egos in the communal good. And I think this song really works, and Dylan's back on form lyric-wise. And then End of the Line finishes the album, which is a catchy song. And they made a video for it, and it was a single, but it's okay. It's just a bit of a annoyingly catchy chorus, which pales. After a few listens, it gets a bit annoying, so I don't listen to this track that much. And in fact, listening to the whole album recently, I'd say it's not quite as good as I remember it to be, which is a shame. Not to say it doesn't have highlights, and the Volume 3 as well, which I could do a separate review on, has quite a few highlights. So, but considering there's these 5 major talents on this album, maybe, I don't know, it could have been better, perhaps. But I think it's a worthy album, and I'm glad they did it. And as I say, I don't know if it contributed to George not striking out on his own after this, because after the Wilburys he basically didn't do anything until he died, although he was recording stuff secretly at home. So thank you for watching. See you next time.